I'm filing for an upgrade, Olivia said, sliding the papers across the kitchen table like she was ordering dessert. Not asking, filing, like I was a scratched app she was uninstalling. It was 6:42 a.m. My coffee was still hot. She didn't even look up. I've already got a place lined up, she added, taking a sip of her stupid lemon water. You can keep the house. I want the apartment and the car. It just makes more sense. Cleaner break. Cleaner break. Like 21 years and one miscarriage were mud on her shoe. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I looked at the papers, noticed the pen already clicked open, and said, "Whatever you need, Olivia." She blinked like the script in her head skipped a line. I wasn't supposed to make it easy. I was supposed to beg, cry, argue. Instead, I signed. She hadn't even asked for alimony. Quick aside, if you're following along, hit subscribe. Honestly helps the team keep these stories coming. The dog followed her to the door. She didn't take him, just closed it behind her. Soft click, no drama, not even a slammed door to make it real. Later that day, I found one of her wine glasses still in the dishwasher, lipstick stain intact. Merlot, same brand she always bought with his Amex. I know because I checked the receipts once. Just once. She said I was paranoid, said I was suffocating her dreams. The man's name was Greg. I never asked. I found out when she left her MacBook open and forgot to turn off Bluetooth. It synced to my car's screen when I drove to work. Her iMessages popped up mid-traffic. "You're everything he never was. I want you inside me all weekend." I pulled over. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there, watching the bubbles keep coming. Greg, when is he finally out? Her. He won't fight. He never does. That was 6 months ago. The morning she served me papers, she wore a gray wrap dress, mid-thigh, and heels I'd never seen before. She only dressed like that for conferences. Except there was no conference. Just brunch with Greg's boss. Her face when I didn't object, like she stepped on a rake that didn't snap back. And me? I went into the garage, closed the door, sat down at the old steel table no one ever noticed, the one where I kept my little prototype. She used to joke about it at parties. Mark's retirement fantasy, she'd say, wine swirling in hand. But the blueprints were done. The trust was airtight. And my attorney, retired military, sharpest man I know. I didn't leave her because she cheated. I didn't even leave her because she humiliated me. I left because I'd already been gone. She just didn't notice until it was too damn late. She used to call it Mark's man cave, like I was hiding adult content and potato chips in there. In reality, it was a windowless, freezing garage with one busted heater, 2 rusting filing cabinets, and a workbench I built myself back in '07. The only thing I was hiding in there was 47,000 hours of unpaid engineering. But Olivia wouldn't know that. She never stepped foot inside, not once in 13 years. Instead, she'd walk past with a mimosa in hand, laughing on her Bluetooth about beach houses she'd never afford. "I need vibes, not voltage," she told her sister once when I asked her if she wanted to see what I'd built so far. "Mark's little widget doesn't even do anything." It wasn't a widget. It was a scalable, low-heat microtransformer built for small-scale grid redundancy. In English, it let hospitals run full surgical suites during outages without a generator the size of a truck. But Olivia didn't care unless it came in a Louis Vuitton bag. I remember one night around 1:40 a.m., I was soldering connectors and burning my fingertips through dollar store gloves. She came out into the hallway, wrapped in a silk robe. She didn't ask if I was okay, didn't ask if I needed food or sleep. She just said, "Can you not do that buzzing thing? I have a spa day at 9. I didn't answer. I didn't stop either. That night I ordered the final parts. She thought I was stalling in life. I was just slow cooking something too big for her to grasp. And she wasn't entirely wrong. On the outside, I looked like failure in a flannel. Same truck, same job, same faded college hoodie. But while she chased curated brunches and zero-calorie husbands, I was engineering my exit. The trust was registered in Nevada. That was important. Nevada doesn't mess around with asset shields. The patent was filed under that trust's name, not mine. I paid extra for legal separation from marital property classification. My lawyer made a single comment when I asked him to draw it up. "Expecting rain?" "Just don't want to hand her the umbrella," I said. She mocked me for having a separate P.O. box. I told her it was for my college alumni mail. Truth was, it's where the prototype's correspondences landed, contracts, test site letters. A tech magazine even requested an interview once. I declined. I wasn't ready, not until every switch was flipped. I had a whiteboard in the garage no one ever saw. I didn't write equations on it. I wrote names, people who helped, people who laughed, people who'd get a call the day I sold. Her name wasn't on it. She had her version of ambition: charity galas, yacht parties, a 3-month obsession with writing a children's book that never made it past page 8. I never stood in her way, but every time she called me boring or comfortable, I added another wire to the circuit. Every insult soldered into the casing. By the time she left, the prototype wasn't a prototype anymore. It was a loaded spring, and she had no idea she'd spent the last decade stepping on it barefoot. She moved out like it was a promotion. New place in Lakeview Heights, 2-bedroom condo with waterline views, whatever the hell that means. She didn't buy it, of course. That was Greg's doing. Greg Hammond, 48, regional finance director, Rolex guy, gym tan smile, smells like eucalyptus and superiority. The kind of man who called me buddy when he met me in the driveway during the pickup. "I'll take good care of her," he said with a half laugh, like I was handing him a used blender. Olivia stood behind him in white jeans and sunglasses too big for her face, like she was boarding a yacht in the south of France instead of stealing half a marriage and a golden retriever. "You're welcome to her," I said, and went back to trimming the hedges. 3 weeks later, her Instagram lit up like a travel brochure. Beach toes, champagne bottles. Finally with someone who gets me. One story said, "Upgrade complete," with a pic of Greg pouring rosé. The caption had the word manifesting in it. She looked radiant, but I knew that look. That's her honeymoon face. She wore the same one when we first started going out, before she learned I wasn't a mind reader, before the silk started feeling like nooses. Meanwhile, I kept the house. Quiet, cold, and mine. I mowed the lawn, fed the dog, paid bills, rinsed dishes. The coffee machine still made that sputtering noise she hated. I didn't fix it, and I kept working. No fanfare, no suits, no slideshows, just adjustments, tweaks, bench tests. Every Friday I emailed performance logs to a guy in Austin. Quiet guy, never asked about my personal life. He called once to ask if I was serious about scaling production. I told him I was thinking about it. 2 weeks after Olivia posted a picture kissing Greg in front of a yacht she didn't own, a black SUV pulled up in front of my garage. It was late, maybe 8:15 p.m. A guy in a camel coat stepped out, mid-30s, beard trimmed with surgical precision. He didn't look like a salesman. "You Mark Hanley?" he asked. "I am." He handed me a manila envelope. "We'd like to discuss exclusive rights. You've been on our radar." I didn't open it right away, just nodded and set it on the bench, next to my soldering iron. "Who's we?" I asked. "Architect Energy Solutions," he said. "But more important than us is what we don't want: competition. We'd like to acquire the tech outright." "Buy it?" "License, then buy, then scale." He smiled like he expected me to fall over. Instead, I asked if he wanted coffee. He said yes. We sat in my kitchen, same one Olivia left, and I poured from the same pot she once called battery acid. He sipped it. "This is awful." "Yep." The contract had 5 sections. The last page had numbers, real numbers. He slid it toward me. "If the performance metrics hold up, that's your floor." It was 8 figures, before bonuses, before residuals, before options. I didn't react, didn't smile, just said, "Give me 2 weeks. I'll have my attorney look it over." He nodded, finished the coffee, and left. Outside, Greg's leased Benz drove by, Olivia in the passenger seat, head tilted back, laughing at something I couldn't hear. I stood in the doorway. She didn't see me, but I saw her. I shut the door, walked back to the envelope, set it beside the prototype, pulled out a pen, jotted down one line across the front. Make her wish she asked one question. They flew me out first class. I didn't ask for that. Probably figured a man in flannel wouldn't make it past airport security without wrinkling. The boardroom sat on the 43rd floor, glass on all sides, the kind of place where the sun hits everything but no one ever sweats. Across from me, 3 suits, all mid-40s, Rolexes, teeth that never met real coffee. They introduced themselves like they were auditioning for a TED Talk. I just nodded, said, "Let's get to it." On the table, 2 copies of the license agreement, 84 pages. My attorney already combed through it line by line, twice. Clause 19.3, asset attribution. Clause 27.6, intellectual property continuity. Clause 31.9, publicity embargo. 6 months, non-negotiable. That one I made sure of. "Mr. Hanley," one of them said, folding his hands, "we're prepared to wire the full acquisition offer, less advisory deductions, pending signature." I picked up the pen, clicked it, looked them dead in the eye. "You plan to use it right?" I asked. "Hospitals, clinics, not crypto rigs or backyard Bitcoin empires?" The room tensed a little. The oldest one, Caldwell I think, said, We're prepared to allocate 80% to critical infrastructure partners. Our first rollout is with a surgical network in Ohio, fully above board. I nodded. Then use it wisely. Signed both copies. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Incoming transfer, $167 million USD, verified, time-stamped, final, no applause, no champagne, just a handshake and a nod. I didn't take the offered car back to the hotel. I told them I'd walk. I left the building with a cheap canvas bag, the same one Olivia said made me look backwards. Inside it, the original prototype sketch, the first circuit board I ever burned through, and a peanut butter sandwich wrapped in tinfoil. Stopped at a gas station, bought black coffee, drove back to the airport in a rented Nissan with a sticky gear shift. On the plane, I watched Olivia's Instagram through a burner account. She was at a spa, sipping cucumber water. Caption, "Some people try to be rich, others just live it." She had no idea. That night I sat alone at the kitchen table, same chair, same creak, opened a can of soup, ate it cold. The dog stared at me like I was insane. Maybe I was, or maybe I just wanted the quiet to stretch a little longer. I didn't call anyone, didn't post, didn't even log into my main bank account. I left the money in the business account under the trust's name, just sat there, fingers wrapped around a chipped mug, wondering if Olivia would have noticed the new calm in my face. She used to say I was too passive, that I never made bold moves. Turns out I just didn't broadcast them. 6 months. That was the deal. No press, no leaks, no mentions. The world wouldn't hear a peep until the embargo lifted. By then, she'd be too deep in her fantasy to realize it had an expiration date, one tied directly to my signature, and when that date came, she'd choke on it. I kept the truck, same one she used to mock when we'd pull into valet lines and the attendant would ask, "Are you dining with us, sir?" Like I'd wandered in from a construction site. Olivia hated that, said it made us look regional, whatever that means. She took the Lexus and the Split. I didn't even argue. Let her have the leather and the sensors and the backup beeps. I preferred the rattle. At least it warned you something was real under the hood. I kept mowing my own lawn, every Saturday. Same pattern, front to back, overlapping rows. Greg drives by sometimes during those mornings, slows down, always in something glossy. Black Audi last time, matte rims, red calipers, overcompensation in vehicle form. Olivia's in the passenger seat, big sunglasses, blonde highlights now, fake smile, the kind you paste on when you're trying too hard to be fine. She leans in to say something to him, then looks out at me, shirtless, sweat running down my back, same cut-off jeans I've had since '99. She lifts her phone. Snap. I'm sure it went straight to her group chat. Later that week, her friend posts a photo, champagne flute caption, "Some men age like wine, others just age # upgrade life." I was the punchline. Thing is, I don't care. Let her laugh. That watch she loves to point out, the old Seiko she says I refuse to retire. It's a rare 2009 automatic with misprinted dial markers, one of only a few dozen that made it past QC, appraised last month $38,000, more than her leased Mercedes by a mile. But I didn't correct her. I just nodded when she said it at the farmer's market, loud enough for the woman next to us to hear. "You're still wearing that thing?" I looked down at it. Still ticks. What she doesn't understand is, nothing changed on the outside because I wanted it that way. The more I looked like the same old Mark, the less anyone asked questions. The banker didn't flinch when I deposited a check. The waitress didn't skip me for the booth with shinier shoes. And Olivia? She still thought I was broke. Let her think it. Her arrogance worked better than any cloak. Once I passed her and Greg at a wine tasting downtown. She wore heels like she was walking a runway. He had a lavender pocket square. I nodded. Greg didn't recognize me. Olivia did. Her smile cracked for half a second before snapping back. I raised my paper cup of coffee. She raised her flute, toasted the air between us. She thought she was waving down at me, but the funny thing about glass ceilings, sometimes the view fools you. You think you're above someone, when you're just floating on borrowed scaffolding. Mine was built from steel, hers, from someone else's Amex points, and the gap between us, widening every second. They were halfway through bottomless mimosas when the screen lit up. Greg had just ordered a second plate of duck confit like he was auditioning for a French citizenship. Olivia was talking about engagement rings, something not too gaudy but still makes my ex's wife circle feel poor, when her phone buzzed on the table. She barely looked at it. Then she froze. Her voice caught mid-sentence right between cushion cut and platinum band. Greg noticed. What? She didn't speak, just blinked, then slowly turned the screen to him. The headline read, Local Engineers Patent Acquired for $167 million by Architect Energy. Subheadline, Mark Hanley's microtransformer tech to revolutionize emergency grid redundancy across the U.S. Below it, a press photo, me, wearing the same flannel she once said made me look like an off-brand lumberjack, smiling, not smug, not cocky, just calm. Her mimosa glass slipped from her fingers, shattered across the tile like a slow-motion car crash. Everyone turned. Greg leaned in, squinting. Wait, that's your ex? She didn't answer. He kept reading the article. Hanley. Wait, you're Hanley? The garage guy? The battery nerd? Silence. She reached for her water with a shaking hand, missed it, knocked that over too. The waiter came over asking if she was all right. She nodded too quickly, face red, trying to mop up broken glass with a linen napkin. Greg kept scrolling. This says he held the patent in a trust. Holy, he's been sitting on this? Didn't you say he was broke? She whispered. He was. Greg kept reading. Apparently not. That moment, it wasn't just embarrassment, it was fracture, because for 6 months she'd curated a fantasy, told everyone she left him for a man with vision, bragged about escaping a basement-dwelling failure, pushed the narrative that she was leveling up. Now she was staring at the truth, in 1080p, in daylight, in a room full of people who would definitely forward the article to her book club. Greg scrolled to the quote section. He says here, Greg read aloud, I built something to last longer than the people who dismissed it. He whistled low. Damn, that's cold. She stood abruptly, grabbed her purse. I need to go. To the bathroom? No, she snapped. Home. Greg followed, phone still in hand, rereading. Why didn't you say he was working on something like this? She bit back. Because he wasn't. I mean, not really. It was just wires and he never said it was real. Outside the restaurant, she paced. Air was too hot, or maybe too thin. Her heart pounded in her ears. The world tilted sideways, and somewhere under that carefully Botoxed forehead, the thought clicked into place. He hadn't gotten lucky. He'd outgrown her, without ever saying a word, and now the world knew. The call came at 9:12 a.m. sharp. She was still in bed, silk robe, ringless fingers scrolling through the article again like maybe, just maybe, it would say something different this time. $167 million. His face, that flannel. Built something to last longer than the people who dismissed it. The phone lit up. Robert S. Myers, ESQ. Robert, she answered, voice tight. Can this wait? His voice cut through like a bone saw. No, we have a problem, a big one. She sat up. Was Mark's patent listed in the financial disclosures during the divorce? Olivia blinked. His what? The technology, the invention? Was it listed under shared intellectual property or as a private asset? I don't think it was on anything, she said. He had this old box of wires in the garage. I thought it was just a hobby. Robert groaned. Did you contest asset division? No, you said it was cleaner that way. He paused. Olivia, you signed the no contest clause. You waived spousal claim to future earnings tied to unlisted assets. But it wasn't earning anything. There was nothing. There is now, he snapped. And unless he listed that trust after the patent was filed, which he clearly didn't, you have zero rights to it. It's airtight. She went silent. I thought we got everything, he added. Clearly he played the long game, and won. Then a click. Call ended. She stared at the wall. Her ears rang. For the first time since she left, the silence hurt. She'd walked away thinking she'd scraped every dime from the bone, took the Lexus, took the apartment, took the dog's bed and left him the vet bills. Said he could keep his little toys in the garage. Now those toys were worth more than every room in Greg's high-rise rental combined. She scrolled back to the photo, zoomed in, looked at his face. He didn't look smug. That was the worst part. He looked peaceful, like someone who didn't need to explain himself anymore. At 10:51 p.m., she broke, typed 4 words into a new message. Mark, can we talk? 3 dots appeared, then vanished. No reply. She refreshed the screen again. Still nothing. Checked her blocked list. He wasn't there. He just chose not to answer. She tried again. Please, just 5 minutes. Nothing. She stared at the text thread for an hour, watching her own desperation bloom across the screen. She'd sold herself a lie, that he was the weight, the anchor, that she needed someone better, but now the truth roared through her like a freight train. She didn't just miss out. She erased herself from his win with her own damn signature. The invitation stopped getting answers. At first, Olivia told herself everyone was just busy. Family trips, school schedules, end-of-quarter chaos. She even joked about it at brunch. Ugh, are we all that old now? But then her texts started coming back unread. Maybe next time. Let's definitely plan something. But nothing ever got booked. Her old circle, the spa girls, the wine moms, the one friend who used to borrow her bags and never return them, they went radio silent. Not blocked, just quietly uninterested. She'd gone from curated queen to whisper fodder. A few of them even liked his article. Publicly. No shame. The final slap came at the Henderson Foundation Gala. Black tie, open bar, too many mirrors. She walked in on Greg's arm, trying to look unbothered in an emerald dress 2 sizes too tight, and someone from across the room snorted into their wine and muttered, "Bet you wish you stayed married now, huh?" It wasn't even said to her. It was said about her, like she wasn't in the room. Greg stiffened, smiled too tightly, kept walking. She smiled too, but something cracked behind her eyes. At dinner, the couple seated next to them, real estate and pharmaceuticals, made polite chat, until the man turned and said, "You're the one who was married to that guy, right? The tech inventor?" She nodded, sipping her 4th glass of wine. He laughed. "Damn, talk about the one that got away. Good for him." She didn't answer. Greg didn't either. He just stared at his plate like it owed him an apology. On the way home, the silence in the car felt like a judgment. She tried to joke. "Well, that was painful." Greg didn't laugh. Instead, he said, "Liv, I think I need to take a step back. Not forever, just some space. This whole thing's been a little overwhelming." She blinked. "You're breaking up with me?" No, not that. Just reevaluating. I thought you said he was a loser, a nobody." She couldn't find the words. He didn't sleep over. The next night, she stood alone outside a seafood place downtown, one she and Mark used to go to when they could still laugh without effort. Her reflection in the window looked unfamiliar, too polished, too posed. She didn't look like someone at peace. She looked like someone desperate to appear content. She pulled out her phone again, opened the article. There he was. Same flannel, same half smile, same quote she couldn't get out of her head. "The people who believed in me are already taken care of." She zoomed in on his face. He looked lighter, like the version of him she never bothered to know, the version she told herself didn't exist because it made it easier to leave. Now the world saw it, and she couldn't unsee it. She wasn't part of his win. She wasn't even part of his story. She was a footnote, a warning. She waited too long. 3 weeks passed since the gala, 4 since Greg started needing space. He hadn't texted in days. Her social calendar was a corpse. No calls, no invites, no photo tags. The only thing lighting up her phone was the news algorithm, still cycling that godforsaken headline like it was gospel. Mark Hanley, $167 million, flannel and all. She hadn't seen him in person since before the news broke. It gnawed at her. Not just the money, it was the absence. Like he'd erased himself so cleanly, so intentionally, there wasn't even a fingerprint left. So she drove to the old house. Same street, same cracked sidewalk out front. But the curtains were gone, the porch light off, weeds growing up through the stone path she used to nag him about. She rang the bell twice. Nothing. A silver Toyota pulled up beside her, young woman in blazer, clipboard in hand. "Are you here for the showing?" Olivia blinked. "The what?" "The showing. Mark Hanley's place. He sold it months ago, fully furnished, closed quiet." Her voice caught. "Where'd he go?" The realtor shrugged. "Didn't say, just left the keys and a note that said, 'Time to upgrade.'" Olivia stood there for a moment, lips parted, the world wobbling under her heels. Then she got in her car and drove, this time to Robert's office, her lawyer, the man who was supposed to protect her from outcomes like this. The receptionist didn't even offer coffee. She asked to speak with him, said it was personal. 10 minutes later, his assistant returned holding a plain white envelope. No greeting, no sympathy, just the envelope. She opened it in the hallway, hands trembling. A single sheet of thick cream paper, typed, clean, cold. "Olivia, I wish you well. I just don't wish you back. Mark." That was it. No anger, no sarcasm, no regret. Just the final door closing, gently but permanently. She walked outside in a daze, sat in her car in the lot, engine off, AC off, heat rising through the glass. Sweat rolled down her spine, mascara already cracked from the tears she hadn't even noticed falling. She tried to text him again. The thread was still open, her last message still unread. She typed, "Please, just one conversation, one. I need closure." Then deleted it, because somewhere in that stifling silence she realized He'd already given her closure. It was in his absence, his peace, his lack of revenge. She used to think silence was weakness, but now she knew silence was the end. The waves don't ask questions. They just roll in, one after the other, clean, indifferent, erasing footprints like they were never there. Mark sat on the deck of a cedar-paneled cottage overlooking the Pacific. Not Malibu, not some penthouse. Just a clean, weather-worn place with a chair that creaked when he leaned back and coffee that tasted like the ocean air smelled. Strong, a little bitter, but real. The sun was rising, slow, patient. Next to him, a kid in his 20s, early 30s maybe, set down a mug and asked the question people always danced around before finally spitting it out. So, did it feel good? Mark didn't answer at first, just watched a seagull dive, miss, and circle back again. Then he chuckled. Once, dry. She filed to upgrade, he said. I just finished the installation. The kid laughed like he didn't expect it. Jesus, that's cold. Mark shook his head. No, cold would have been showing up in a Bugatti and waving a copy of the check at her brunch table. Cold would have been buying the apartment out from under her and charging rent. So why didn't you? He poured another cup of coffee. No cream, no sugar, no press release. Because I wasn't trying to prove her wrong, he said. I was proving me right. The kid leaned back, nodded like he got it. Maybe he did, maybe not. A breeze rolled in off the coast. The wind chimes danced once, soft and quick, like a whisper only the house could hear. Mark stood, stretched his back, looked out over the water. There were no missed calls, no unread texts, no open loops. He didn't have to post a photo, or give a speech, or explain anything to anyone. She'd seen it. Everyone had. And now, she got to live with the part that hurt worse than revenge, being irrelevant to the outcome. He sipped the coffee. Same old ceramic mug, not branded. No quote on the side. He liked it that way. The kid stood too, brushing crumbs off his jeans. So what's next? Mark smiled. Nothing. Not bitter, not broken, just done. He watched another wave erase the last one from the sand, turned toward the house, left the view behind like a man who no longer needed it to feel powerful. Sometimes the loudest revenge is no revenge at all.